what do sounds like this, this, and this all have in common? That's right, if you guessed that they're all made with a technique called FM synthesis, you're correct. FM synthesis has a notoriously bad rap of being extremely hard to program and extremely confusing to get your head around if you're coming from either a traditional synthesis background or you're just a beginner in general. But today, I want to talk to you about a plugin that aims to change all that called FM Zone from Toybox Audio. Now, Toybox Audio have made 2 other plugins that I've covered on this channel, and they were kind enough to reach out and sponsor today's video, but I want to talk to you today about why I think that FM Zone is probably the most accessible FM synthesizer that I've ever tried, and at the same time, it can go as deep as you want it to. I really feel like it strikes a perfect balance between being beginner friendly, which a lot of FM synths aren't, but also being very, very deep and uniquely powerful if you are a seasoned FM veteran. Let's start off with a demo song where every single synth sound, everything except for the drums, is made using only FM Zone, including its built-in effects. So hopefully you enjoyed that demo song, and hopefully it goes to show just how powerful FM Zone is and how unique all the different sounds you can get out of it are. I'm going to highlight a couple in particular that I thought were really cool. One, the bass sound, of course. This is really, really interesting, and it's a very simple FM sound that I programmed, but it takes advantage of one of my favorite unique features of FM Zone, which is the built-in bit reducer. The other sound from the demo that I want to highlight before we jump in and learn how it works is this classic FM pad. Now, pads made with FM synthesis have a traditionally really unique and glassy metallic texture, which can be great for certain parts of the song. But FM synthesizers sometimes struggled with things not sounding too bright or harsh because most FM synths, at least back in the day, didn't have filters. However, with FM Zone, you actually get a filter built in as well, which is fantastic and kind of brings it into that hybrid territory between a classic subtractive synth and an FM synth. There's tons more unique sounds in the demo, but so we're not here all day, let's jump onto the front panel of FM Zone and learn how it works before finishing off with some sound examples. All right, so here's an initialized patch on FM Zone. And I think right off the bat, the first thing I want to highlight is what makes it so unique in terms of being approachable yet deep. And that is down here, this sound selection area. So what we can do here is we can actually choose from a ton of different starting points of FM algorithms. So for example, 3 analog octave brass. Right? You might think these are just presets, right? Let's do another one. Let's do pizzicato hollow. I really like that one. But where the true power of FM Zone goes and why it's so approachable yet so deep at the same time is that if I clicked its pencil tool, we are now inside of the actual deep FM operators. It's basically going to be a 4-operator FM synth. You can change the algorithms. You can go ahead and change the way they're organized. You can do all of the different FM classic parameter changing you would want to do. Let's change the algorithm a little bit here. Oh, let's try it. You know, bunch of different interesting ones here. Super saw, that's not on most FM synths. Right? So we're getting incredibly deep here. Double ring, let's change the ratios here. If you are scared off by this and you don't want to look at it, at least for now, very easy to just choose a starting point. And now we have a standard, very approachable synthesizer with Toybox's signature workflow where we have unique envelopes for every single one of these controls, and then unique controls that are going to affect the FM qualities of the sound, the pitch, the shape, the filter, the level, and then we have this sampling side as well. So it's a really unique way of working. Let me stop talking and I'll start to design a sound, and you can hear how quickly we can really control and shape this starting point of pizzicato hollow. So if I'm going to go to our pitch here, and this is going to be just your standard pitch, we'll do a pitch envelope. We'll make it basically have a bit of a transient here. Cool, I like that. We'll add in a sub oscillator underneath. This is really useful if you have really metallic sounds. We can also change the style of sub oscillator here. And then we have our shape here. Now shape is going to warp the output of the FM operators to add extra harmonics. I'm not going to adjust the envelope on that, but I'm going to just go for it and just increase it because I like the way it sounds. Underneath here we can detune. And then spectrum is a really cool one. This is basically going to control a bunch of the parameters inside our scary algorithm here and make our sound have more FM modulation. Very cool, right? And then we're going to go ahead and change the timbre. So the timbre of the current algorithm will just be changed here. Again, we're getting into a really cool bass design here. Let's start to do a complex envelope shape on some of these, and let's do one on here as well. Like, this is pretty unusual for FM synths to have this many envelopes that are this freely assignable to all these different parameters. That's a huge sounding bass. I love that already. And then here, unlike a lot of FM synths, next up we have a filter. Cool, right? Algorithm select here. We're basically smoothly going through all these different algorithms and kind of, you know, not changing any of the complex parameters, but basically being able to warp our sound really quickly. And then here's our ratio control, a very important parameter for FM that's just right there on the front panel. If you do things other than perfect even multiples, you're going to get into really kind of atonal metallic. And then underneath here, resonance for the filter. You can also change our style of filter. Just like the other Toybox ones, there's a bunch of really cool filters. Oberheim SEM emulation. And then finally here, we've got our level. Right, and we can just basically go ahead and add drive to that if we want to. But that's a really massive sounding bass that in maybe another FM synthesizer would have taken me a really long time to make, and we've basically just done it with adjusting like 12 knobs here. So this is a perfect place to go into the next section, which is the sampler. They allow you to add either transients or classics, like we can even layer in samples of analog synths. Let's Let's go for a transient though. As cool as that sounds, let's go for like a drum, a house kick. Cool, I like that. So it's basically the sample part, I'll go over that pretty quickly, but it's pretty straightforward. We've got detune, we've got our different filter and resonance types, and then we've got level. And then the final thing here is we've got FM depth, which is pretty cool. Awesome. I'm loving how that sounds, and the last things to go over are these global settings up here. And then we'll design one more sound quickly that is a bit more melodic, and we'll show you kind of the versatility of this plugin. But first, yeah, we've got basically our speed, which is, again, all of this is standard if you've used Toybox plugins before, but if not, it's really intuitive because, right, we've done all these envelope shapes, and speed will determine the entire speed for every single one. So if you make them really, really, really fast, or really, really slow. Right, it's incredible, like the kind of happy accidents you find with this synth and why it's my favorite of the three plugins is, like, look at that. Right here, we've got a pretty clean 808. Probably need to go and change the voicing for that to be monophonic. And then if we go here, we've got this like complex, like neuro D&B bass. Like incredible, right? This again, I've been making sounds in synths like Serum and FM8 for years, and this kind of sound would take a lot longer to make in those synths than here because of this magic starting point here of starting with these FM operator algorithm starting points. But again, enough about that. Let's quickly look over here. So the global settings, some standard stuff, right? You can change glide, legato, we can change our polyphony. We'll make this one monophonic. Right, that's pretty harsh actually. Let me just turn the resonance down. That's better. And then I mentioned this before, but one of my favorite features, the bit depth. So 64, it's gonna probably use more CPU, but it's gonna be the absolute cleanest all the way down to 2. Like massive. I'm for sure going to be using this for any really intense like trailer brams and like dubsteppy style sounds that I do for people. 12-bit is a classic bit depth. A lot of people love the sound of like 12-bit delays. It's got a bit of a crunch on it. Let's actually leave this one a little lower though. This is kind of a cool sound. I'm kind of digging 4 here. And then finally, you can change a couple filter settings. I like to leave high quality filters on, and then some modulation settings as well too. So that's a tour of the plugin. And then now that we have this saved, we're actually going to do a really cool feature that, again, is pretty unique to Toybox synths from what I've seen, and that is we're going to mutate the preset. Let's do it again. Let's mutate. And if we want to click this dice, it's going to do whatever the last thing we did from here, either init, randomize, or mutate. So if you want to just go through sounds really on the fly until you find a variation you like. Love that, right? Sounds so cool. But it's actually really great for melodic and pretty sounds as well. So let's do that by initializing the preset. We're restarting, and we're gonna go and take a different starting point. So let's go ahead and take a string here. So let's try synth strings. That's pretty nice. Let's try a couple other ones. I really like the sound of that soft brass string here. So let's go on in. This one we're gonna really want high quality filters for, and we're gonna change the polyphony to the max. Now the max polyphony is 5, keep that in mind. Now for VSTs, usually they let you have unlimited. I'm not sure if it's a CPU issue or not, but yeah, keep that in mind. Treat it like a vintage synth, 5 notes max. So what you're gonna do then is we're gonna go through those controls that we remembered before, and starting off with some detune. Let's change the global attack and global release. Let's go down an octave here. Beautiful already, right? Let's go ahead and change our filter. Let's try a sailing key. That's not necessarily pretty, but like MS-20 style filter here. filter open up here. A little bit less resonance. Let's change the timbre. Let's make that open up too. You know what? That filter is just a little too crazy. Let's do a 4-pole, like a classic Moog filter here. There we go. Let's go for a supersaw. Let's go for an OB. Well, I kind of like that one. That's nice. Detune it. The 5th is just a little bit too detuned for me. There we go. That's more like it. Okay, cool. Now we can start playing with these parameters up top. So this one is really cool. It's stereo width. Right? All of a sudden we now have a beautiful pad. Absolutely gorgeous. Here's pitch. We're not going to mess with that for now. And then the final one are effects. So let's look at a, let's go for a big space reverb. The reverbs are pretty good, but again, go get Valhalla Supermassive. It's a free plugin, and put these pads through the reverb of Valhalla Supermassive and it will sound incredible. And that way you can actually free up your effect for something really cool like chorus. Amazing, right? And let's go try one more here. Let's do flanger. All right, well, hopefully that gave you a brief but solid understanding of how to use FM Zone and what makes it so unique compared to all the other FM synths on the market. I think that the innovative side of FM Zone, with having these built-in algorithms that you can start as starting points and then switch out and then edit if you want to go deeper, is just fantastic. And having those sort of hybrid features like the sampler side and the filter from subtractive synthesis, as well as all the different envelopes, makes it a really, really intuitive way to make those classic FM sounds that we all know and love, as well as design new sounds that maybe nobody's heard before. If you do want to get FM Zone for yourself, it's on sale for an intro price of $34 right now. You can click the link in the description. If you want to hear a couple more sounds, we're going to wrap up here with me playing through some of the factory presets. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you again to Toybox Audio for sponsoring this video, and I will see you in the next one.